And we are live with another episode of the Keeg Talks. Today, the Keeg Talks Echo, the newest MCU edition on Disney Plus. I'm your host, Dimithri Perera. And if you're watching us live, you're watching us on twitch.tv/The Keeg Show or youtube.com/The Keeg Show, or you're listening to the podcast wherever you get your podcast from. We're here to talk about Echo, and it's not just me alone hearing myself speak, though that would be an echo of sorts. So dumb. Let me introduce my guest. Justin is shaking his head. We got Freddie's roommate, Justin Jordan. Justin.
Hi, everyone.
Shaking my head at my jokes?
Yeah, I am. But hi, everyone. I'm Justin. And I am also a member of Kingpin's Goons, but I'm also fluent in ASL, but not really.
Oof.
I just have the contact lenses.
That's like the lazy man's way, but fair.
No, but actually, I took two classes of ASL in college.
Yeah.
That was really fun. I really enjoyed it.
Can you... We'll get to that.
I can only know my name, where's the bathroom, that kind of thing. Like very short sentences.
I mean, that's still good. I can't do it at all.
Sandwich ASL because I worked at a Subway that was right across from the California School for the Deaf in Riverside. So I can say things like
You could say things like what?
Cheese.
Oh. How do you do cheese?
It's like this, if I remember correctly. It was like 10 years ago.
I'd be curious all the different types of cheese.
Yeah, I don't know that. I knew how to stumble through helping somebody get a sandwich.
That's fair. If you're listening to the podcast, I've already introduced Justin, but who was that voice? We got Paige Blackcloud. What's up, Paige?
Hey, not too much. Happy to be here. This is my first time coming on the Keeg. I'm an actor and on camera and VO, and I'm a nerd.
Yeah. Also, you've been known to throw some punches, right?
Oh yeah, I am a martial artist as well. I guess I should say that. I'm also indigenous. I'm Dakota in my background. My dad was born and raised on Spirit Lake Reservation. But yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
We also got, last but not least, she's just vibing. Amanda just vibing. Amanda
Hi.
Castrillo. Amanda, what's up?
Nothing much. Thank you for having me again. This is not my first time on the Keeg. This is not my first rodeo.
No, this isn't.
But yeah, I am a content creator, social producer, all around nerd. Love Marvel, and yeah, I'm happy to be here and talk Echo.
I'm glad to have all of you here because I feel like we're gonna get some good insight into the show. Now, I don't know who would be watching our podcast before watching the show, so just be careful. There are spoilers to the show. That's what this is. We got to be able to talk about stuff. Echo first appeared in the MCU in the Hawkeye show, and she didn't do too much, but she was there and she was prominent, and then they said they were going to do a series on it. Did you guys like Echo as a character in the Hawkeye show? Did you feel like she was properly developed? Like, what were you guys' first thoughts?
I thought she was wicked cool. But I remember when I was watching Hawkeye, I felt as though I wasn't sure like who to focus on when it came to like an antagonist, and so I felt like I wanted more from her, but that's also what made me excited for Echo. It definitely set the stage for interest for her as a character, but I do think that she could have been a little bit more developed in that show.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Did you guys have Amanda? Did you have any? How do I put it? Strong opinions about Echo in Hawkeye?
Not super strong opinions. Again, I don't think we knew enough about her when she was first introduced because it was like kind of like an introductory, like, oh, this is Echo, this is a character. And obviously like the baseline, okay, like she lost her father, she's connected to Kingpin, like the very like baseline rudimentary things, but like as far as like as an in-depth, fully fleshed out character, we didn't really get enough at that point. So like it's really cool to like see the character unfold in Echo.
Yeah. Justin, feel the same way?
I mean, going into Hawkeye and going into this show, uh, I all I knew about Echo was it's not Ronin. Like the comics, like
Wait,
did
what?
remember in the comics,
Yeah.
when everyone thought Ronin was
Oh,
Daredevil,
yeah.
turns out Ronin was actually Echo. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I wonder whatever happened to that character. Oh, wait, she's in Hawkeye? All right. And the thing that she's known for is shooting Kingpin in the face. And it delivered, it delivered on all that. I liked when she was like almost like a Terminator. She was so determined to
I thought
like
you were
to
just gonna say I liked when she shot him in the face.
well, yeah, that was cool
Period.
and all. That was great. But
As she should.
I really liked her in Hawkeye. I was looking forward to Echo. I'll say that.
Yeah. Like I'm familiar with Echo from the comics. So Echo, was created, I believe, by Brian Michael Bendis in his Daredevil run. Brian Michael Bendis has created a lot of heroes, and he is very insistent on making live action adaptations of his heroes. Like Brian Michael Bendis created Miles Morales. He created Jessica Jones. He created Naomi in DC. He created like a bunch of people. I'd have to look up a whole list, but I believe Echo is one of those. So it was only a matter of time till we got Echo live action because he seems to have some pull. In the comics, though, she does have a little bit of powers. I think she can copy people's moves, and so
She's
then
like
they.
Taskmaster.
Sorry.
She's kind of like Taskmaster.
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah, but say like I just rewatched Black Widow too, so I was like, oh, that sounds very familiar. Like,
Yeah, but they chose not to go that route for the live action version.
mm-mm.
Does that affect anything in your guys' heads?
Should we start? Are we allowed to start spoiling it now?
I guess. Yeah. I'm just wondering.
Honestly, I was not a fan of the powers. I truly wasn't. It came at. I would much rather her be really good at her job, like unnaturally good at her job, than to give her like a supernatural power that it's coming from. Even though, like, when the episodes would begin with a very interesting like history about her people and things like that and how she's connected.
Yeah.
I think it's more powerful to me personally if those women are just really good. They don't need like a supernatural thing or like I'm not sure what the first episode, the lady in the first episode in the flashback.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was something to do with like her history or like the history of a people or like something like that, but I didn't have context for it. So it really caught me off guard when she got powers. So
yeah.
I think that caught me off guard with her powers was that she was just kind of like, like the first time it happened and then didn't really like further pursue questioning why did I just glow. Like that's just in a world where like superheroes are running rampant and you've seen incredible things happen. It struck me as a little bit odd that she didn't immediately pursue that. But I like the idea of kind of like taking and like just throwing some stuff out the window because it leaves room for surprise, right? Because I think when you're a comic book fan, a lot of the time you end up not surprised by what happens because they're trying to take stuff from the comics and even new iterations of comics. When you get new generations, like part of the fun is like, what are they going to do with this character now, reimagining it? And that's really what like cinematic universes keep doing. So I was excited with them doing something different with the powers, but I agree that I don't know if I super liked what the powers were, but that's also because I feel like I don't understand them. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And like it kind of like it gave you sprinkles of like, okay, it's like an ancestral thing, it's like passed down between like all, but also, and I think this is like kind of an overarching issue of like we only had 5 episodes.
Yes.
And one of the problems I had with that as well is that a lot of the time, and I noticed this in like even the first like 3 episodes, there was a lot of flashing back that I don't think was necessary because we already saw it You know,
You
like
mean-
you know what I mean?
You're talking about
in
the first
Hawkeye?
episode.
Like, are you talking about like the episode openers that were like some of these like flashbacks to like other?
Because they weren't like it was like, okay, if it's the opener, that's cool because it establishes like the tone for the rest of the episode. They kept happening throughout the episode.
Yes.
And it was like we
Felt like
already
wasted
saw
screen
this.
time to me. Yeah.
And it was like, okay, but I saw this. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I felt like it just kind of got repetitive and it was the same clips over and over that didn't really explain anything.
Yeah.
So like things would just be happening.
I
And
also
then it
had hopes that this was going to be like the official start of like bringing in the mutants, like and taking it in that direction. That was, if they were going to give her powers, that's like, that was my like hope for what was gonna, I don't know, go on. But yeah.
yeah. And like that was my issue with the powers too, where I was like, okay, in the time that it took to like continuously show the same thing over and over, I feel like you could have just elaborated on the powers or have her kind of discover what they were, or have them explain to her, and like not have her talk to her grandma in the last ass episode.
Mhm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like that's the thing where it's like we had 5 episodes. Okay, that's a little bit of time, but it's still time.
Mhm.
And you were filling it with things that were
Also-
repetitive, that were not really driving the story and the lore forward.
Yes, well, and the ensemble cast was so good that every time we were not spending time with them, I was just like, okay, when are we gonna go back?
Yeah, the acting and the characters were so good. Like every time they interacted and spoke, and I was just engaged, and like I wanted to just like watch them speak.
Yes.
And
Yeah, I
it
found
was
myself almost annoyed every time like the flashback of the people in the past came up, because I'm like, I want to get back to Uncle Henry. Like,
yeah, I'm like, Uncle Henry's great. Like Homie
Yeah.
with the dog is great. Like I wanted to see more of them, and I wanted to see more of their interactions with Maya, and like somebody they haven't seen in like 20 years. I love drama like that. I love that kind of drama.
Yeah.
So I was like,
diverted from your original question quite a bit.
yeah, we did.
Here's a good question, just to kick this off a little bit more. With minimal explanation, out of 10, how would you rate this series? These 5 episodes. With minimal explanation, then we can dive into it. You know, just to kind of, I'm very curious on where everybody is. For
I would
me, oh, sorry.
I would give it
yeah.
an 8 for me.
Okay.
Like I would give it an 8 because of the stuff that it did good and the things that I liked about it. I liked so much, but and like the problems that I had with it were issues that are affecting not just this show.
Yeah. I would give it a 7. And it's not that I didn't
Absolutely,
enjoy it at all. It's not that. I enjoyed it. But I think there's something to say, and we'll talk about this Marvel Spotlight branding, which I think is both good and bad. But it wasn't as compelling to me as it should have been.
Yeah,
So
I agree. I was going to give it a 7
7
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Justin?
Yeah.
Oh, I give it a 4.
Mm.
Because I think this show had a lot of trouble, that a lot of it was out of control. I agree with Paige on that. But for what we got and the missions that this show wanted to achieve, I don't think it achieved a lot of what it was trying to do. And the things that I did like about this show are are few and far between, unfortunately. You know, and I think the most damning thing about this show is the Marvel spotlight of it all. I don't know if we can get into that.
Yeah.
Because one of the more interesting and one of the beautiful things about the Marvel Cinematic Universe is that each project relies on each other. And not that I'm not saying specifically like references or cameos or anything like that, but like it's building upon a shared story. And for a company to say, this is not a part of the shared story, you don't have to know anything. You don't have to plug into this atmosphere or like the world that we're building. You can just watch this and leave. I think it's disappointing to the cast. I think it's disappointing to the writers. It kind of leaves them out to dry, you know?
Almost
Yeah,
like
that's-
shooting yourself in the foot right to begin with.
Well, and
Exactly.
I know for a fact that some stuff was cut. Because there is at least one person that I know for sure that was in the show that and it did not end up on air. So
Okay.
there was definitely some storylines that were cut. Well, I mean, obviously I have no idea what they were, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think that some stuff changed, like in post production that maybe could have elevated it and made it a little bit more than a four for you. But yeah, I'm wondering if there was just because there's so much of a concern, I think, for like trying to pivot and then like then like with like the strikes going on and stuff. I feel like some weird decisions got made and things got cut that just shouldn't have been cut.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'm trying to read just some information to see like if there is a clue to kind of what happened. It says filming occurred over 92 days. Is that normal for a series of 5 episodes? Is 92 days short or long or normal?
It depends on how long those work days were, really. And like the level of kind of the level of production. And from what I saw, that it feels like there was probably a lot cut if that's how many days they were shooting.
Yeah, 'cause that's like what, 3 months?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 3 months.
Yeah. And given the amount of action we saw too, because action can really make stuff take like a lot longer. But the with the amount of action that was in the show, I just can't see it taking, I don't know, that long. But I don't know, because I've never worked like union action, so I've only worked like non-union, like you're doing dangerous stuff and way too fast. So it could be like way longer for union work, but I don't know.
I'm reading that in May of 2023, Jeff Snyder of Above the Line reported that the series was originally filmed as 8 episodes, and after various production issues, had been found by Feige to be unreleasable. Then it was edited down to 5.
I think that kind of shows.
Yeah, that's some strong language.
And then they reshot much of the series. It was 8 episodes deemed unreleasable, then reshot. Maybe not completely, but ends up releasing as 5.
It's so interesting because I didn't know about the whole because Justin, I saw you reading that book about
MCU,
like
the Reign of Marvel Studios.
Yes, and so I learned about, like through you about that really interesting like process that Marvel just has baked in, where like, you know, you send it to Feige and then it's like he says yes or no, and then like reshoots are in the plan, which is that blows my mind. Like
Yeah.
Like, I mean, after years of like, I don't know if you guys remember all the years of being like, this Marvel project is going into reshoots, what's wrong? And it's like that's literally the business model at this point,
which
and
is good,
I mean,
and bad, right?
we can always reshoot stuff, but like cutting down 8 episodes unreleasable, it wasn't Batgirl. Like, come on, like, I mean, we should still see Batgirl, by the way.
I wish Batgirl was released.
So we can make the judgment for ourselves, you know. But like, I guess I can feel it at least, because like all the plot lines that the show tries to like spin, like Maya's relationship with her mother, not there in my opinion.
I think the biggest relationship disappointment that I had was that I felt like they really set up her most important relationship being Bonnie, and then it wasn't explored.
At all. Confusing.
Yeah.
It does seem like there was a lot cut.
And it's tough because like all these actors, they really pulled me in. Like I really like they did the work. They like I loved their characters and I wanted to spend more time with them. But another thing, kind of just, I don't know, as an Indigenous person, I want to see more of an effort to look out and try and find some more people other than like the 5 Indigenous people that keep getting the same getting cast as every Indigenous character. And I just want to see more. Like I love these actors I like that I've seen in other things, they're amazing, but if I just think that there should be more of an effort made, because there are talented people out there. Like I mean, just go talk to a casting director. Like so many of the tapes that they get are like people are great, but yeah.
shout out to a couple of people out in the Twitch chat. Shout out to Aries13 and shout out to C1X. C1X is saying,
Hey, what's up?
wait, what?
That's my buddy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so, what was I gonna say? Oh, I was gonna say that a lot of the actors from this show we've seen in Twilight, because I'm sure like the cast, the casting people of Twilight were probably like, look, who are the ones we know? Let's put them in, and then
they're like, here's our cast list. Their phone numbers.
Like, but let's talk about this Marvel Spotlight thing, right? The whole point of Marvel Spotlight is to kind of have self-contained series in a way, right? And sure, there are going to be things that bleed in from the bigger, broader MCU, but the Marvel Spotlight is not going to be one of those shows that's going to reference the giant celestial in the Indian Ocean from Eternals, right?
I don't think anything's referenced a giant celestial.
Nobody wants to touch that.
No.
Oh God, I especially don't want that because like I got COVID on a cruise ship, and one of the 5 movies that I could watch in my like room was Eternals.
Uh-huh.
Oh no!
Again.
Did you not like Eternals?
I liked it the first time I watched it, but
okay.
when you're trapped in a room
for several days with
staring out
COVID,
the window in Italy, like not unable to leave.
Yeah. I think okay, so I think that's a lot of MCU stuff is falling victim to this kind of accelerated factory sort of thing. Secret Invasion was horrible. I've been talking about it since it came out. Like it was like, talk about unreleasable. Like Secret Invasion was unreleasable. But I did like Eternals, but Eternals I think had a couple flaws. But this Marvel Spotlight is meant to be like self-contained, but because I feel like the MCU has gotten to a big enough point that like the normies that I talk to in real life, like the mainstream normal people, not content creators, they are a little tired that you have to watch every MCU thing. So, but to them, they will skip Echo. If you're telling like them that Echo is a self-contained thing, that it's the new Marvel Spotlight brand, they might just cut out all the Marvel Spotlight stuff.
That's a really good point I hadn't thought about. Yeah.
I think my problem with the MCU right now is not that they can't do self-contained stories, because we have plenty of good ones before phase 3 that were self-contained stories that I really enjoy. Like I would call Guardians of the Galaxy 1 a self-contained story.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's still connected though in some way.
Most of the origins are.
Yeah, they are. Like a lot of the introductory stuff, it's like, yeah, maybe you'll have like a sprinkle of like another character in, but it's mostly about like
anything. Yeah.
Like even Spider-Man, other than Tony Stark, it's a Spider-Man story, like the MCU Spider-Man's like, okay, you see Tony and then and then you have Peter and his friends, like
yeah, and like that's not the problem at all. I think the problem is that to me the MCU does not have a through line or a backbone anymore, in that if you don't like I gauge pop culture knowledge with my parents sometimes, like they don't know who who Happy Hogan is.
No.
But they've seen Iron Man though, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
That kind of thing. But one of the helpful things about the Avengers movies is that if you don't watch any of them, watch Avengers. And if you're interested in characters like Thor, well, we have a whole trilogy right here,
Right.
If you don't watch anything, like, or I guess an in-universe thing, if you don't know which ones to watch, at least follow the Infinity Stones. Well, Shield showed up here. Does that mean the same person is here? You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing, where there was a traceable through line that you could follow. But in this new phase 4, I think we're in phase 5
now.
Phase 5 now, there's no through line of projects. Like Spider-Man teamed up with Doctor Strange over there, and then Doctor Strange like teamed up with Wanda over there, but I don't know, Loki season 2 and 1, they did their own thing over there. Does it connect? Maybe. Is like, will Kang show up? Oh, Kang showed up in Ant-Man, but what does Ant-Man have to do with Doctor Strange? You know,
And what
there's
does Doctor
no
Strange have to do with Loki? Like it doesn't. There's not, because even I think in the previous MCU projects, I think it's also what you're kind of saying, Justin, is like you. One of the things about like a self-contained project as well is that it needs to work as an individual project and not just as something that works off of references. Like
Mhm.
there's a thing where it's like, okay, again, like you said, like maybe you didn't watch like all the Iron Man movies or all the Thor movies, but you can sit down with a friend and enjoy Avengers. Like
Exactly.
it's still a good movie by itself without any of the prior knowledge. It's still a fun, cohesive 3-act movie. I think the issue is that not only does like the individual stuff not really have an act structure anymore, like it's just like things happening, like multiple scenes happening to multiple different characters, and then the episode ends. And
Yep.
like that's, and here's the thing too, it's like you could have an overarching like plot for like an entire season and still have 3-act structure within an episode, and that's how TV shows used to be. Like they
Well,
used to
I think
have,
these were even more so within like the 5-act structure, because it's like the five,
yeah,
like the commercial breaks between the five. And
yes,
yeah, like I talked to my wife about this. I thought it was interesting that they broke it up into like 5 episodes, because I feel like that was supposed to be like the 5 acts of the, like, episodic in a sense. But it didn't really quite work for me, just pacing wise. And I
it
feel
doesn't flow.
it was one of those things where it should have been longer, or it should have been a movie. And
Yeah,
it
and that's
would
the
have
thing
been
too.
better served on either.
So many of the recent MCU shows, in my opinion, I feel like could have been movies,
I have
and
a
they should have
theory
been
about
movies.
that. I have a theory. So before all this, the modern day stuff, like TV shows used to be like 22 episodes.
Mhm.
There were
Bring it
arcs,
back.
They don't want to invest that much. That's the problem. So
Mm-mm.
there's like 22-hour-long episodes, like a CW show. It doesn't
Yeah,
exist anymore. I mean, the CW doesn't exist. Like, it barely exists anymore. But the point
yeah.
being
Like,
is that,
didn't they go bankrupt?
yeah, and they like sold there was some buyout. Anyway, the point being is that
Yeah,
like TV shows used to have that structure, whether it's a half-hour show, a
or
full
an
hour
hour-long
show. It
show.
used to be like 22 episodes a season. There was like an arc that takes you to the winter break, and then there's like you come back from the winter break and whatever. You can kind of see it. Shout out to Agents of Shield, who was talking about Agents of Shield in the chat. C1 was talking about Agents of Shield. Agents of Shield did essentially that, right? They had like either 2 stories in a season or 3 stories, and they kind of moved forward. People don't realize that like writing for TV, it is a different structure than writing for movies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason, so part of my theory is, like we used to always complain that DC movies are kind of sucky, but then DC TV was doing things and experimenting and, like, for better or for worse, doing things different than the movies. That's because I feel like TV executives are sort of in a lower branch than like movie executives, because there's less money involved. I think because of the MCU, we have movie executives now dealing with TV properties through Disney Plus, which means that's all they know is movies. So a TV show to them is just a long movie, isn't it? And it's not. And I
Yeah.
think
It's
that's
not.
what it is.
That's actually something that I was like trying to look into, is like, okay, like who really made this? Like, do they have experience in TV? And like you can really see the difference in the Disney Plus shows that were developed by people who did TV versus the ones that were developed by people who do movies, because these, like you said, these mediums are very different. The act structures are very different. And but you have other streaming services that are doing hour-long episodes still, and like these episodes are like really quality. Like most of the Apple TV stuff like is still sticking to, it's either like this classic sitcom like 20 minutes, or you've got like the like close to like anywhere between like 45 minutes to an hour per episode. And that's what I like out of TV, because I watch TV to sit with characters and spend time with them, and I watch movies to go through an emotional journey quickly. Like that's that's just kind of what I personally am getting out of these two mediums. And I find myself wanting to watch TV more because of those personal relationships that you develop with characters. And that was something that I really kept wanting from the show, because they did such a stellar job with writing, these relationships, but then it was just like it was like they were dangling this carrot and then never resolving it and never re-exploring it. You get this beautiful scene and then it wasn't revisited. And if you put that within a classic like 5-act episodic structure for each episode, we would have gotten these better, more developed moments, I think.
In Echo, yeah. I feel
Yes.
what hurts with Echo though is that if they had originally filmed 8 with an idea of what they wanted, let's just say they meticulously made a masterpiece of 8 episodes, and then somebody says it's unreleasable, and they take this masterpiece and they cut it up, do reshoots, string 5, now the original intent and pacing is off. So no matter how good that original product was or how bad, like something comes out that's almost Frankenstein.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I feel like we're sort of in this like weird restructuring of like what does the episodic look like? Because every single streaming platform is like reimagining it and doing something different and trying something different. Whether it's like I'm gonna trickle out episodes and do weekly releases, or like they did with the last season of Stranger Things, like let's dump half the season at this point and then half the season at another point, and the episodes are all like wildly different lengths, and it's really I'm really curious where we're going to land in the future with what does the episodic structure look like. And I think we're just kind of in an awkward growing period where it sucks because there's these great ideas that are still out there because people are always having great ideas. Like there are so many creative people out in the world that are coming up with cool stuff, but like it's sometimes not best served by the time that it's getting made.
Yeah.
And I think sorry, I think another thing too is like I think again in the age of like streaming where they're still kind of like they're getting away from it, because I know like some streaming services are doing like weekly episodes rather than like dumping it all at once and being like, here, it's there. But like we got Echo all at once, and I think they were trying, maybe intending for people to binge it and just like knock it out in like a day. And even in that case where it's like it's still got a flow, and especially if you do watch it back to back, because I watched the first 3 episodes back to back. When you watch it back to back, a lot of those pacing issues and a lot of those structural issues really show because you don't have a break. So when I see the same flashback 6 times in the span of an hour, I'm like, okay, what else do we have here? Like, are you going to show me anything else other than the same 6 flashbacks that you keep showing me in rapid succession, basically?
I also have a little bit of just a personal gripe with the need to do these flashbacks, which is that when it comes to like Indigenous people, we are so hyper fixated on this vision of the Indigenous person that is so set in the past. And while Echo did a good job, I think, of breaking conventions of like how Indigenous people in the past are being filmed, they did some creative things there. As soon as they did that black and white like Western thing, I just was like, you almost did it in a way that didn't bother me. But then it just like I felt pretty disappointed when it's like really we're going back to the Western, back to this idea that Indigenous people aren't still walking around and haven't like just haven't changed at all. And it's like cultural things have been maintained, yes, but like Indigenous people are modern people, and we need to see more of that. And that is also a compliment I would levy the show, though, which is that I loved that her character, as much as like it was a big thing to show her background, it wasn't the only thing that that was important about her as a person. Like she has ambitions and things going on, and it's not just like she's Native here. like let's just but then at the same time they came full circle back around with that, with what they did with her powers, it being this like ancestral connection. I felt like they undercut that excitement that I had about it not being like hyper fixated just on the Native background of it all.
There's an interesting thing that happens in comics because comics have been around for a very long time, and started off in a way more racist time to now, which is a not as racist time,
or at least not as loudly.
That's covert racism now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. but I mean, I have my theories on certain things, but a lot of native representation in comics tend to be mystical,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. That's why I was
And
hoping she was going to be a mutant. I really wanted her. I really wanted to find out that she was a mutant, not that it was like this like mystical ancestral connection. And it's like I appreciate the thought that like they wanted to make this like literal representation of ancestral power and like the connection to your history and like maintaining that. But also, I just really want a superhero that happens to be indigenous and is just a superhero. I
right,
just think that would be rad.
which is kind of like what she is in the comics.
Yeah.
You know, the most mystical thing that happens to her is she does get the Phoenix Force
Hmm.
in the comics. Um, but I mean, is that what they were going for in this? You know what I mean? Like, I know it's not the Phoenix, but like, are they essentially just giving her like a
Yeah, and see that's the problem is that
similar but different
I
thing?
had so many questions about her powers that just like we don't really I don't understand them. Like
And
I want to know what she can do because I think one of the most fun things if you're excited about comics and superheroes and like superpowers is like speculating on what somebody can do with their powers. That's like the fun thing to talk about and I don't know what her powers do. I don't understand them
Because
other
she
than
can gift them, right?
yeah, and it's like I just that was like really the only answer that I had, and I'm like, is it giving her super strength? Is it like what is it doing? Because all I'm seeing is that you glow,
I wasn't
and
sure if it was
yeah,
metaphorical at first, like in the first however many episodes. I wasn't sure whether this the creation myth thing that they started off with was something literal or a story being told. I wasn't sure about that. I wasn't sure whether the glowing hands were metaphorical, whether it was literal.
mhm.
Then, when, spoiler alert, her mom comes back out of nowhere. My
yeah,
first thought
That
was,
annoyed me so
my
much.
first thought was she went into hiding to hide from Kingpin, because that we're dealing with multiple tropes here, right? There's the crime noir trope where people go into hiding and witness protection, all that, and then we have this mystical genre where the trope there is the spirit of your ancestors.
Mhm.
My mind went to witness protection first, and then no, it's
See, I went like the other route just because like that scene, like she looked like dead, like in that car.
yeah.
And I was like, she's no, that
yeah.
that she is seeing things. That was, but yeah, but that's because like that was very like it was a well done visual effect of the yeah the aftermath of the car accident. Um, but I didn't feel as though it was like this earned okay, so here's my thing with the show. I really wanted them to spend more time with her being in this like anti-hero space because I feel like they rushed turning her into a hero at the end and like it felt really random that suddenly she's standing there and being like it felt like they wanted us to believe that she's being a hero and being heroic and is going to be a hero now. But like I wanted almost like a redemption arc for her because like she's killed a lot of people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like also like I thought it was going to kind of also play into like because like she's out for revenge, she's out for like just
It just felt like a lot of threads that they started, they just like hoped you would forget about it.
yeah.
Move on to the next thing.
And it's like and there's that lingering resentment with like her grandmother and there's like her not like
Which was all
ghosting
like
her family.
there's so many of these scenes were so good in isolation. But I
Yes.
could feel that they were connected to more stuff that we didn't get to see. And I want to see it because I think
Yeah.
it would
And
have been
it
better.
felt it was just me that like the ending was giving Fast and the Furious where
A
they
bit
like have
yeah, about
yeah,
family.
like the barbecue at the end and it's just like it's been a long like it was just like I was like I don't think it didn't feel earned because I'm like I feel like y'all barely talked
Yeah, no, that was a big thing for me, is that like I was really like, because I love a good of redemption arc, you know what I mean?
Same. I
Like
love it.
the person in turmoil realizing that they did so many bad things, and then like Xena the warrior princess, like, you know, like she did a lot of killing, and then she became like the hero of Greece. It's like I wanted that, but in New York. Like,
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah, Justin.
I wonder if this was a dropped plot thread, because when Maya's mom died, her brakes don't work.
Yeah.
Do we think her brakes were cut?
No, they
Oh,
were
that's what it
cut.
said. Yeah.
They were
By
they
who?
they do say that, but they just don't tell you who.
Didn't Kingpin do it?
Who? Did he?
Everything was like implied. I don't think it was like confirmed. It was somebody who her dad had pissed off. Was like the general thing that
Oh.
they had tried to spell out, but
Yeah.
so I don't think it was Kingpin, because I don't think he was super involved with
Oh,
him.
it was just Lopez. It's like bad Lopez, like
Yeah, like it was.
Yeah. It was Like
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
like a thing with her dad. Like remember the grandma was like,
Mhm.
like you basically brought her into like this life of crime and shit. Like
yeah, which we barely see.
Which we barely see.
What did her dad do?
That's here's the thing.
Remember
If they had started, because there's flashbacks of young Maya. There's flashbacks. We have so many flashbacks. Why didn't we have flashbacks of her dad? Why didn't we have flashbacks of like, if you're gonna have flashbacks, have some flashbacks.
Right.
Like have some flashbacks of like her parents meeting. Have some flashbacks of like the disapproving grandmother. Like give us some context and don't just like tell us, hey yo, this is what happened, it sucks, and then just like,
because we didn't see much of the dad in Hawkeye, right?
no,
we
and
only
he
see his
died
dad.
twice.
We only see
Yeah.
his death. So in this should have been the show where we saw more of her dad.
Where we saw more of him, and then like because we see more, I feel like we see more with Maya as and Kingpin as her uncle than we do as like with her own like family.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
yeah, I also really wish we spent more time with her in the moments after she shot Kingpin.
yeah,
Because like that could have been a really beautiful, messy, like visceral, like showing the violence for what it is, like rather than just glossing over it and not, because like one of my favorite like character killing a person scenes like in anything. This movie wasn't well received, but the newest Tomb Raider movie, like that with Alicia Vikander. So like when she kills a guy for the first time, she has a really visceral reaction to it, because that's not something that a normal average person is ever going to do in their lifetime. And it's something that I really wanted to see with this like mature rating, is like, okay, like let's like actually take a real honest look at violence, and not in a way where it's just violent to be violent. Like let's have somebody have a real emotional reaction to the violence that they are enacting, rather than it's just action and gore and we're just supposed to like think that these people just don't give a crap. Because like I want to see the human response to that, and especially with how important her relationship was with him, I wanted that moment and I didn't get it.
yeah, that was another thing too, like the TVMA rating.
Let's talk about that. Yeah,
I was over here expecting TVMA, like okay, a little bit more blood is not TVMA. I'm so sorry. Like it doesn't.
You know what I mean?
Like there was okay.
Blood added in post.
Well, there was a part where like the guy got shot. And he just like spit up blood, but I'm like, I'm pretty sure we've seen that in like TV-14 Marvel movies and like PG-13 Marvel movies.
Yeah,
like it's.
I'm
not like a huge fan of like violence just for violence's sake. Like like it has to like really, it needs to serve like a purpose of like moving you, because I think that's the point of storytelling in general, is to be moved in some way, whether it's to laugh, to cry, to like be inspired, whatever, you know, moved in some way emotionally. And violence is another tool to do that. And you know, violence can be funny, of course, but like like when done in certain things, you know, like Suicide Squad, like Deadpool, stuff like that, can make violence funny. But something I just really like, I had the hopes of seeing violence explored in the way of like how does it affect a person, especially because it's about a minority person and like somebody who's part of a minority community that has been subject to a lot of like violence that is inherited. And even just Maya as a character, like, is, you know, her dad like had her exposed to a lot of violence at a young age, and we see that response with that she has it is very unusual for a child to have when she sees Kingpin, beating the crap out of somebody in an alleyway. But like, I think at some point in your life, you would have like an emotional response to that. And it's just, I want a little bit more nuance and I guess just brave storytelling in regards to like how is the violence affecting these people, because I feel like they were braver about that even in Endgame, like with regards to like the
Yeah.
back and stuff, like than they really were.
And even in like Spider-Man No Way Home,
Yeah.
like I just kept thinking about the scene where I'm like, again, like, because I think that was a movie where violence was done very well, because
Yes.
you have Willem Dafoe, like fucking up Peter Parker and like just smashing him through the multiple floors and just like having it time. And then you have Peter basically like enraged at the end, like nearly about to kill him, and like having this moment of like clarity with the other Peters. And just like it was done very well, and it was brutal. Like it was a hard scene to watch.
Yeah, and I feel like he set up Bonnie as a character to be the mirror that like reflects like who Maya has become now back at her, as to like who she was before she left. And then it just didn't happen. And I want that to happen. So like if we get a season 2, that's really what I'm hoping for, is to really deep dive into these relationships, and like let's let Maya actually really have some serious moral dilemmas and inner conflict, because that's one thing I really was hoping to see from her. I love that she's focused. I love that she is such a focused character. That's very cool to see. But at the same time, conflict is what you typically see in a protagonist for a reason, because like that's what makes them like more like relatable, more human. And like a singular focus is typically what you see in side characters and like the villain, because you're not spending time with them, so you don't get the chance to see that. And it's up to a really good actor, to like to hint in moments between that there is more going on, that there is this doubt and conflict. But I just didn't see that for her written, and I think that I think she tried to portray that as often as she could, but she wasn't given the opportunity to really like sit in those moments. But they also chose weirdly to hold on moments that just like were so weird to hold on, like like camera angles that just like were lasting so long in like the skating rink episodes, like episode 3, I think, like when she gets like captured, those side characters, like we just like hung out with these people for so
and they just really served like that was one episode too where I'm like, okay, the action scenes were like quite fun and like they were cool and they were choreographed really awesome, but like I'm not here for the random ass people at the skate rink, you know what I mean?
So I liked the action in the way that like I know it was done by professionals, but I really wanted to see her not fight like every other female MCU fighter, because like the way she moved was just so much like every other. It's the same kind of choreography that you see, and I really wanted to see Maya stand out as a combatant and do things a little bit differently. Maybe even just being more observative and tactical, given her disabilities, and outsmarting her opponents more so than doing like a lot of acrobatics. And I get that, like, it's part of her background to be a martial artist and everything, but not every martial art like does like backflips and cartwheels. Like,
I think one of the good, I always talk about the series because I freaking love it. I feel like one series that was really good at showing different styles of fighting was Avatar, especially when they had like the way that Toph fought versus the other earthbenders, like things like that, where it's like you see the way that she sees the world. And like they had moments like that with Maya, where they had moments of like the silence and they had moments of like reading the lips and like things like that. But with the character like Maya, where like I really wish they would have pushed that and like put the audience in her shoes more, because when they did, I was like, oh shit, like I was like watching, I was like in it. And then they would
her fight break it more like exciting to watch too.
Yes, because it was just like two people fighting. It was just
it was a cool fight, but like I wanted to see like both of like the way that both of them has had to adapt to a world fighting people despite like a disability, like I wanted to see that more in the choreography rather than like, you know, just a cool fight scene. Because like it was well done, and I know that she did most of her stunts, which is crazy impressive. Because I'm not really sure what her stunt or like martial arts background is, but stunt work is a lot of work because, you know, it's not just like you do it once and then it's done. Like you're doing that all day. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Full body workout.
I want to
Yeah.
talk about that Daredevil fight.
Mhm.
Obviously, you know, Echo is a character from the Daredevil comics that went on to be in different comics like the Avengers and whatnot. But like, and we are building towards, I guess, Daredevil Born Again. Was that fight between her and Daredevil too short and underwhelming? Because that's what I'm gonna say. It was too short.
Dimithri,
and it was underwhelming.
underwhelming.
I thought that like her versus like maybe because it was too short. Because he just disappears. She pulled out the shotgun at the end and he disappears.
Yeah.
Like, he never shows up ever again. He was just there.
It felt kind of random. Like, and here's
Yeah.
Daredevil.
Well, yeah, I was watching
There
the
he is.
show. I don't know. I was so glad that I didn't get spoiled for this because I don't know if you guys like. I was like scrolling and like watching the fight scene. I was like, oh, this is pretty good. Oh, this is pretty good. And then I was like, oh shit. Oh. And it kept going. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. Oh, where'd he go? Like, I appreciated it. I appreciate that it wasn't like the Daredevil show featuring Echo. It was a nice little cameo. I'm a little confused about the canon nature of Daredevil now. When did this happen? Like,
So
is before or
supposedly
after
officially,
She-Hulk? You know,
supposedly officially, Daredevil was never snapped. That's
So-
they've announced it officially that Daredevil's never snapped. Also, because of the years that they put in this show, the snap is between 2018 and 2023. This show, the flashbacks take place in between those. So Fisk wasn't snapped, Maya wasn't snapped.
so say that again. Like, I'm so sorry.
They were not snapped.
Need to get out the
Nobody-
yard. Hold on.
Fisk was not okay.
No.
All right.
Anyone
You
see that,
see it
you know.
in Hawkeye too. If you like, one thing that helps is like using Hawkeye as the baseline, because the reason why Hawkeye became Ronin is because his family got snapped, and Hawkeye killed her dad. Like, and she was around when her dad died. So
Yeah.
like basically when you use like that as like a connection, it's like you can tell who was around and who wasn't.
Right.
So are all the all the Netflix shows like officially canon?
Supposedly, according to how they're being represented on Disney Plus right now, they've been moved into the main Marvel timeline playlist.
Okay, because now I have questions because when Kingpin has his little like come to Jesus moment with Echo and like she kind of like mind blasts him or whatever, he's holding a hammer
What?
and we see the iconic like wall.
Yeah.
Because remember when like Kingpin killed his dad, right? I went back and watched the episode on Daredevil. That is not the same hammer. 100%.
Wait,
It is not the same hammer.
Does
The
it
one
have
in
to be the
Echo
exact same
has
hammer,
like
or
a
does it have to
round
be
part on it.
indicative of the hammer?
I don't know, but I was like, that's not the same hammer. Number two, if the other question is,
Oh my god, that
remember
makes him so much,
remember
like,
at the end
it
of
wasn't the
go
same
ahead.
hammer, and he's like, "This is the hammer." I go, sorry.
I'm sorry.
It's a random ass hammer. Sorry.
It's a random ass hammer. Number two, remember in season 2 of Luke Cage, I don't know if I was the only people that watched that show.
I watch it.
But remember, he becomes like a crime lord at the end of that show.
Uh-huh.
What happened to Luke Cage's criminal empire? Are they interacting with Kingpin?
We don't know.
Does Luke Cage even know about Kingpin? Was he snapped? What's going on? Like,
We
I'm
don't
so
know.
confused.
It's all
Like,
pre-snap.
all pre-snap.
All the
So-
Netflix shows are pre-snap.
All right. Okay. Cool.
Except maybe
All right.
Punisher season 2. I'm not sure if Punisher season 2, because it was
Honestly,
released. I think Punisher season 2 was 2019.
I couldn't even finish Punisher.
I
sorry.
like Punisher.
Hmm.
I'm watching it with. I'm rewatching it with my
Need
dad.
like a movie to happen that is about like what happened during the snap to all the Netflix people.
It's
So-
just an anthology. It's
Yeah.
like
That's what I would watch.
We
Shit,
did
man.
a what if season 2. We did a what if season 2 episode of this podcast, right? Like last week. And in it, I was stating that I'm going to tie this in with Kahori, actually. I'm going to start off with here.
Okay.
Yes, I loved that episode.
So there's that episode with Kahori in What If Season 2 that was amazing. She is also another character in which I have no idea what her powers are. Both of them are mystical. I know the Tesseract is science, but it's not really. It's, you know what I mean? Like nondescript parameters of what these powers are. Kahori can do anything essentially, but I don't know. There are some limits I don't know. So Kahori and Maya kind of follow that kind of thing. But my problem with What If Season 2 is that some of those stories could have just been main continuity stories. Like, Kahori didn't have to exist in an alternate timeline. Because she does. She does not exist in the MCU. She exists in the multiverse. There are, like, other stories that just could have happened as untold stories of the MCU. And like, What If Season 2 was kind of like playing around with that, and it's like, I don't know why they were doing that. But
see, I'm okay with it for no other reason than like I feel like sometimes they do these things where it's like they're testing the waters to see like what do people think about like this character concept. And so yes, she exists in the multiverse, but that's not to say that another version of her couldn't exist in the MCU at some point, like even reimagined. Maybe the powers are a little bit different. And I thought that episode was dope. Like I just thought it was really cool. And it was the language it was just like so cool, like for to get the indigenous languages like in there, because like stuff like that can be used as learning tools for for those communities, which is just awesome. But yeah, that episode was it was fun and really cool. And I think one of the better animated episodes of the season, in my opinion. Like I loved I love the moment when like they turn around and like there's all the eyes in the woods. Like, it's just they did some really cool stuff visually in that episode that I enjoyed quite a lot.
I'm just afraid that Marvel is saying two things, both or saying one thing, both applying to both Kahori and Echo, is that they both don't technically matter.
Fair. Yeah.
They're saying Echo is Marvel Spotlight and Kahori is an alternate universe. She's an alternate timeline. She doesn't affect anything that's going on here. And Marvel Spotlight doesn't affect anything that's going on in the MCU. So they're relegating both of those characters to almost inconsequential. What does it matter? Because their impact is lost.
I think that the impact is there for people like me, though. I think it's unfair to say that there's no impact, because there is an impact. I feel an impact. Like I feel moved to see, two indigenous people being portrayed as competent and badass and brave, and like indigenous women at that. So there's certainly an impact to be had, but I get what you're saying in terms of like integrating it with meaning to the greater MCU, because that shows the willingness to take on financial risk, like as a whole, for like it's not just like we're trying to like say please people. Oh, I paused. Oh no, the Mac did that. Hold on, I have to stop the video. I forgot to turn gestures. You can still hear
Goodbye
me
forever.
I was like, what was that? I was like, okay.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
you and Justin switch places.
Oh no, I'll turn mine off.
a little and turn it back on.
No, everybody's okay right now for me, but okay, cool.
There we go. We're good. Okay. But yeah. So I guess I see your point though, in that like it's like I do wish that there would be a little bit more brave and like sticking by these characters, and being like, no, they're here to stay. We don't care what you think. Like these are part of it. Deal with it. Like I'm the Avatar. You got to deal with it.
And by the way, I apologize. I didn't mean that they don't have any impact as far as like the people,
Yeah.
But you're right. The greater MCU. I should have worded it better that way.
Oh no, that's okay.
And whether Marvel trusts in those characters, whether they're willing to invest in these characters.
See, that's actually something I wanted to touch on because I felt as though like the 5 episode like it getting cut down to that felt like a lack of trust.
Mhm.
That was one comment that I had made to my wife was that like it feels as though releasing it all at once and only 5 episodes, like it felt like a like we're not sure like if we're ready to go all in on this, and I just want to see that wholehearted commitment because that's when good writing is allowed to happen. Like artists need to know that they can fail and explore and get another go because like that's just there's so many shows out there. Like look at like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which like there are college courses taught on that show. But the first season is not great. Like it's not what the rest of the series was.
Yeah.
But if we were like if that show was made now for the first time, it probably would have been canceled.
Oh,
and
definitely.
Yeah.
and wouldn't
That's the thing too, where it's like I notice I'm like pilots aren't allowed to be like pilots anymore either.
Yeah, I think there needs to be room for failure. There needs to be room for like these people who are making this to feel as though they get the chance to explore and and try things and take risks and do some things that are brave and might not work to like find stuff where it's really good because like so many shows like really hit their stride in like season 2 or 3 like. And I'm worried that we're getting away from that, and there's such a need to like get it right away. But that
in
just
my head I'm like,
let's guess what people are gonna like.
what does unreleasable mean?
Yeah, what does it?
What does that mean?
Mhm.
Like by whose standard?
Yes.
That's the thing where I'm like, okay, you said it was unreleasable by whose standard? Did you test screen it? Did you show it to test audiences? Did you like see people's opinions on it? Did you have people consult on it? Or did you just show it to 1 or 2 guys and go,
Everybody.
no? Like
Yeah. Also, the idea that the Flash was releasable,
and
the
Oof.
Flash wasn't even fully done when it was released. Like it was, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it wasn't
I
even
still haven't
finished.
seen it.
It wasn't even finished.
Yeah,
And
I
so
passed that one.
how is that a thing? Batgirl isn't releasable. Are they using the same metrics? I know that's over in WB and HBO, whatever. But are they doing that same thing with the Echo 8 episodes sort of situation? Also, keep in mind, Daredevil Born Again was written and they went back to the drawing board.
Mhm.
So the next Daredevil show, they scrapped whatever they had written and or storyboarded or whatever. I don't think they filmed anything, but they had planned
They
out
filmed
the season.
stuff.
Did they film?
As far as I'm aware, they filmed stuff. They were, from what I hear, don't
Didn't
take
Charlie
this with a
Cox get
grain of salt.
suit
You
up?
know, say it again.
Didn't Charlie Cox suit up? Like I could have swore I saw pictures of him suited up.
From what I hear, he didn't wear the suit until like much later in the series,
Okay.
and there was a whole plot line about police officers using Punisher logos that apparently hit a little too close to home, I guess,
Oh,
for some people.
I would have liked that, but
Are imitating life, and so they all
Ugh.
got scrapped. So
do I
Well,
trust?
I don't
I
like
know.
that either because it's like okay, a lot of like what happens in real life imitates art, and like it art imitates life and vice versa. So like, I don't know, man. Even if it's something that's controversial, like why don't you just do it, man?
it'd be fun. I'd love to see it, but
Like,
I think it's a pretty good idea in my opinion. But I don't think Disney is
I-
that risky.
I
you
think
know?
Disney and Marvel tend to do the why can't we all just get along sort of thing. Well,
All right,
if we
Sam
all
Wilson.
tolerate each other, we're fine. Everybody's entitled to their different opinions, and that's an ongoing, thing.
So interesting because they're adapting comic books, and comic books are like
against the grain, and they've always been.
historically political, which is just that's
Yeah.
kind of interesting when you think about
The family friendlyfication, like that's another thing too, where it's like I kind of another issue I have. I think just with like the recent stuff as well is again like this show was TVMA, right? And I'm not saying that I was expecting like swearing and like sex and like all this. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting, I guess, like more mature, like adult feeling characters. You know what I mean? Like a more mature story, a more like complex thing that like, okay, maybe your 14-year-old doesn't need to watch this. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that kind of thing. And I was telling my husband today, I was like, I feel like this wasn't MA at all. Like I feel like this didn't lean into like the rating. I'm like, you have a whole new rating, you have a whole new avenue of opportunities in order to like explore this world and explore this character in a way that hasn't really been done in the MCU before. And it still feels like a TV 14 show.
Yeah. So I was talking to my wife about this. I'll just talk about our spouses and what they
Yay!
think. um, uh, so kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, where there's like we're in this like kind of like I don't know like wild west with the streaming age like so it's like really who is dictating these ratings anymore like is it because to me because I was really thinking about it when you think about the majority of the content that exists on Disney Plus I guess you could consider it mature for Disney Plus like it warrants that rating in like with them not including the Hulu content like that's integrated
What
but
kind
like
of content are you referencing?
and so like Disney as a company has always marketed itself as like the family company cartoons like that's what people really think of when you think of Disney and so like I probably Echo to them feels like it warrants the MA rating but also that rating could have come from stuff that was cut too but it makes me just wonder like what like who really is like deciding now anymore
Yeah.
like what the rating is like per show because there are some shows that are it feels like there's like a certain cap of like rating levels where like there's some shit that you'll see on The Boys where it's like so far left and it's the same rating as stuff that is like much more tame.
Right.
Exactly. And it's like,
Yeah.
what's the baseline? Like, because
Yeah.
at the same time, like when I think TVMA, I'm like, oh shit, like you're gonna go there.
Yeah.
And then I watched it and I'm like, okay, Slay, give us nothing. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing mature here. I feel like I could.
we kind of need to redefine what these rating systems are. I think it's time to take another look at them and like and rework it because like if we don't rework things and change with the times, like people can't make informed choices.
Yeah.
And
'Cause
that's
I'm like,
the whole point of rating something is to give informed choice of what to
and
expect.
correct me if I'm wrong, page 2, which like another thing that like I was thinking about, especially after watching it and watching like the first 2 episodes back to back and then watching the last 2 yesterday, where I was like, it felt odd that this was the project they assigned TVMA to.
There's yeah.
Because here's the thing, TVMA, okay, it's going to deter people with like say younger people, like younger family members, kids, young teens from watching it. It's really funky that it was this project.
Yeah, I agree because it like technically you could be limiting representation for groups.
Yes.
Yeah. I agree. I think it's kind of weird, but I feel like I don't feel like that was like a plan like we're getting one over on you sort of thing.
No, I don't think it was like malicious. I don't think it was intentional, but I think like again too when something is so ingrained
it kind of
like
that's the way it played out.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Sometimes I think things like it's like is it really coincidental at a certain point that it keeps happening to the same kinds of people?
Yeah, and like again, I don't think it was again like,
but I don't
like a evil person on a throne being like, haha, I've got you now. Like,
I think we can all acknowledge that there are just certain groups of people that certain things are more statistically likely to like happen to when it comes to like with stuff just not getting served as well as it could for various reasons. It's just like you're not the priority.
Right. And also what movies used to be like when they used to be graded by what was then called the MPAA, they would fight.
Is it different now?
It's MPA, and I don't know exactly what has changed, but it's MPA now. It's not MPA.
Not MPA.
But the MPAA was notoriously like nobody knew what they were doing and who was on it and why. There was a documentary called This Film Is Not Yet Rated that goes into like the cloak and dagger weird mystique of the MPAA. But the point being is that when a big budget movie from a big studio, they tend to get rated lower than what they should be, or an equivalent movie would be from an independent studio would be rated higher, an R rating versus a PG-13 rating, or an NC-17 rating for certain subject matters that shouldn't be. When it comes to, I think when it comes to like the stories that are being told of marginalized communities, whether they should be getting an R rating or a PG-13 rating, it's more like once they get an R rating, nobody's campaigning to make it PG-13. They're just like, it is what it is. Let's release it, and that's what it is. You know?
Yeah.
Because like I feel like Echo falls with that.
It felt PG-13. Like, you know what I mean? It felt like TV-14. Like it felt like you wouldn't get in trouble for watching it at 13 years old. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and on the other side of it, I almost wonder if like the choice to make it rated MA was because of like the roots of where it was coming from, given that it's like related to the Netflix stuff, and the Netflix stuff was much more gritty and much more like it might have been like an odd attempt to try and like really pull in that audience. That I know
capitalize off of it in a weird way.
Yeah, like to kind of like as like a pre-reassurance of like, look, we're bringing back this stuff that you used to like, and it might have been just like an odd attempt to do that, to reassure like certain audience members that like they're trying to honor the stuff that's like they're integrating in now, but they just haven't really done anything like that really is like TVMA like from like the Disney Marvel shows yet, and so it just felt no different than Hawkeye really to me, and its like maturity level, so that could have been a factor. But yeah, I just don't know. And also like when with the nature of the character too, with Maya, like, you know, she is violent, like she is not hanging out with good people, and so they might have felt as though like they kind of had to write within that box because like that's where she's starting. But at the same time, that goes back to my earlier statements of like, let's explore that. Let's explore where she's starting emotionally, and the fact that she is, you know, like surrounded by people who are not morally great, and like how does that affect her as like as a person, and explore that within an MA rating. Like, let's take a real look at this violence, and let her feel things about it and then change because of it. Like that would have been pretty powerful. And it's just, and again, these are all things that could still happen though. If we get more, like I think that I would like to see more, because I did get emotionally invested in these characters and these people. And also I just am really sick of the like, oh well, it wasn't like perfectly received, so like let's just throw it in the trash and move on. Like let's give them like more chances to like do more and go deeper. Yeah.
I would love for it to continue. I just think that Marvel is showing that they lack faith. And also with the whole binge idea, releasing all 5 episodes, like that's what I remember when Orange is the New Black came out, and people were writing articles stating that like you have to binge Orange is the New Black, otherwise you're gonna just stop watching the whole series after like an episode. Like you're gonna watch an episode and you're not gonna be compelled to watch another episode, but the binge model compels you. Like you're not gonna wait a week. You're gonna forget about Orange is the New Black. That's what I read. I'm just saying. But there are certain certain series that are like slow burns versus like fast burns and whatnot. So different models. But I think that like the MA rating is a push on Marvel for branding purposes. But I also don't think that they had faith in this show. They redid it. They made it 5 episodes. They threw it all 5 episodes at once with a TV MA rating. And like I don't know.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Yeah, no, I mean, my big thing is that like I think that the cast deserves a second season. They all worked like their butts off, and like you could see it, you could feel the connections, you could feel the work. I mean, like the ASL that was learned, like there's just so much like really beautiful work done by these cast members, and I want to see them go further with these characters, because again, like why I watch a series is to spend time with these people. And that's why I don't really like this thing that we're doing where it's like you don't know how long an episode's going to be. One episode's going to be 32 minutes and another is going to be like an hour. Like I don't, who knows? It's just like you don't really know like what you're sitting down for.
And that's another thing too, where it's like it kind of sucks also because one thing I've noticed recently as well, it's like I'm one of two things is happening. I'm either like, oh, it ended? Huh? Like I either have that moment or I'm like, when is it gonna end?
Yeah.
Like there's not really there's no like, it's kind of like or it's like
Yeah.
and then it just kind of like awkwardly just teeters and I'm like, I don't know what to expect and then I'm I'm put off because I'm just like, what?
Wait, baby complaint. I really need them to start lighting night scenes better.
Yeah.
Like there's certain standards of lighting that we could be doing rather than like single source lighting for like every single night scene with like the minimalist like most minimal highlights, and it gets a little bit hard I think to like discern the action, and it's just like I don't know, it doesn't serve the scene very well if I'm like getting like flashes of like what's happening every 2 seconds. And I felt like we spent so long too in these like really dark scenes where I'm like trying to figure out what's happening. And then like we're rushing through these moments that I want to sit with. And it felt like they wanted to get the most out of the really expensive scenes. Like, and action is expensive. And so we were going to sit with those moments a long time, but like really like if I just want to watch action, like I'm going to throw on, I don't know, like Born or something.
John Wick.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like the thing too. It's like those character moments and like the times where like the actors were able to like interact with each other and like just speak. Like I really liked those moments. I liked when they were able to like communicate and just like show their personalities and move the story along that way. And then again, like a random ass weird flashback would happen. I'd be like, bro, hello? Like, can we please like stay here? It was going good.
Another compliment though I could give like as an Indigenous person, like and this is just, I hope this is a continuing trend that I see like continue like that we're seeing the acknowledgement of very specific tribes as opposed to just like what it was back in the day where it's just like, this is a Native person, like just throw them on screen, Princess Tiger Lily. Like it's just, I'm really happy to see like really really hyper specific like tribal representation, because if it does, it reminds people that there are other tribes than Cherokee out there, you know. Like
it's all like a monolith.
Yeah, exactly, which I think is great. And so I hope that we see more of that, more like specifically calling out like, you know, this is Mohawk, this is Choctaw, this is Lakota, like this is like because there's like over 500 tribes in the US, and it just, I want to see more of that, like more of that.
Yeah. I just realized the side plot of Biscuits trying to get a new windshield didn't matter at all. What was that? I
don't even know. That was like, again, that was like the thing that I kept feeling, is that there was just so many things that they were spending time on that they just like randomly chose not to resolve. And then like he had like even like that Marvel thing of needing to do a joke in the middle of the dramatic action, that moment with like the monster truck.
Yeah.
It just felt so like out of pocket to me. Like it was like, why did that even happen? And also like, why right now? Like you could have done it before the dramatic scene, like where she's calling on her ancestors, not like let's clap or let's just like flash to like an epileptic like hallucination of a monster truck going on for
one part that made me chuckle was, I think what's her uncle's name, Henry?
Yeah.
When he's like about to like shoot the guy and he goes, wait, what? Like the rocket launcher.
Okay, I'm very confused, and I'm gonna ask,
Henry was my favorite.
I'm gonna ask Justin. Justin, what was Kingpin's plan in that final scene?
His plan?
What is his plan? Just to blow up a
let's like launch an RPG at.
Well, I
to
was
commit
under
a hate
the
crime.
From not that far away.
Like,
Yeah, that would.
fuck.
Oof.
I
Like
was
what?
in the-
What do you mean?
good question. I mean, I was under the
Jennifer,
impression that
what do you mean?
Ken wanted Echo to work for him.
Yeah.
Knew that the only thing Echo was connecting to was her family, who knew ASL. So let's just get rid of the family and you gotta work for me. You have no choice. And I'll always keep Bonnie in my back pocket because if you fuck up, I'm going to kill you. Like I thought that was the plan the whole time. I guess it didn't work out.
And
I
then
guess,
also fire the RPG into the crowd of people.
or maybe like a "don't make me do this" kind of scenario.
But here's the thing: there was a whole separate guy because they were like what in the barn, like Kingpin and like his goons and like Maya and her family were all in the same area, and then this random ass guy that looks like straight out of Breaking Bad, like
Yeah.
had the rocket launcher, and then Henry was like, "Hold on!" Like I was like, "Wait!" And then the guy being like, "Oh, there's a fireworks show." I'm like, "Those does not look like fireworks." But like, it was just a lot happened. That's what I was like.
Happened.
I feel like again too, like it's one of those things where it's just like again multiple scenes happening in succession, and then it ends.
It sounds like you guys didn't like Echo.
I mean I liked I stand by what I said where like for me it's like I love Uncle Henry, I love Bonnie, I love the grandma, I love Maya, like I love
and the grandpa.
The grandpa was great. The guy, he was so funny with the grandpa. It was
like
great.
I love her family, and so I really genuinely enjoyed like all of those moments, but like the comic book show of it all is what I didn't like, and that was the missing like 20% of this for me. But because I'm not coming into it like, oh, I came into it wanting like nice nice family dynamics and seeing modern indigenous people, like that's what I came into it for, and it delivered in that way for me, and so that's why I was favorable towards it, and I would revisit it for getting those things. But I could see how if you weren't coming into it for those things and you're coming into it for a comic book show, like it left a lot to be desired, definitely. But the relationships were there for me, and that I guess just as an actor, that's always what it's going to come back to for me. If the relationships are there and I'm eating up those scenes and they make me feel something, then I'm gonna enjoy it. Yeah.
There were, I think, I mean, we started this episode off literally talking about how it was like scrapped and re-edited and everything, and it just puts everything into context for me in my head. Like, why were these things there? Why did it get dropped? The mom has healing powers that she only just uses on the woodpecker. I thought the mom it was going to be revealed that the mom would have lived the car crash, but she used her healing power and kind of allowed Maya to live.
Yeah.
That would have been very impactful. I thought the same thing was going to happen.
They could still do it.
Yeah.
But it's like, now it's just like, no, she just used it on the woodpecker, and that's good. Okay. Because that was also sad too. I was like, you just like wrecked a woodpecker.
Yeah.
That's not nice.
And that's the thing too, where it's like, again, we had like those, again, if you're going to do flashbacks, and I'm really sad that those flashbacks, like of those moments, like with her and the woodpecker, with her and her mother, were saved for like the last like 2 episodes, because I feel like they should have been sprinkled in throughout, where it's just like, oh, Maya's always had like these kind of violent tendencies, or she's always had these kind of like things that just were like not quite conducive to like a child, you know?
Yeah.
And so like I feel like if that had been kind of explored more and kind of gave more context to why she was like, it grew into the way that she did, it'd be like, oh, like, okay, but instead it's like, you just dropped on us that like her mom had healing powers like the last episode, and also the fact that like she hurt small animals. Like what? Huh?
My thing with the entirety of the shows, I think that if you really took a hard look at every single episode, and then like going back to like again like the 5-act structure of the episodic from network TV days, you could have taken like the big what of every single one of the 5 episodes and made that be condensed down into a really, really strong pilot. And like, and it would have felt fast paced, but it would have been like exciting though too. Because I brought up Battlestar Galactica before we came on, but like Battlestar Galactica is like the remake, not the old show, but like their opening episode was basically a movie. And so like let's like I think like to see that happen maybe in the future for other Disney projects that are maybe struggling in the same way with like kind of figuring out what's this whole first season going to be. We'll just make a mini series like movie, like a made for TV movie that is a little bit unusually structured and like goes back more to the sense of the episodic, where like it's not quite the pacing of a feature-length film that's meant to be able to be viewed just in isolation. You are meant to continue on to watch the rest of the series with this.
And like I think you said it too, where it's just like a lot of the time with older series before like the age of streaming, the first episode would be a little bit longer than the rest of the episodes.
Yes.
Like it would not, like it kind of like you said, like a made for TV movie, but not quite. Yeah. And like it would start off with like a 45-minute, hour-long episode, and the rest of them would be 22 to 30 minutes.
Yeah, or even like because typically like in like network TV episodes are around like 40 to 45 minutes is like the max with commercial breaks. Like it's sometimes a little bit shorter, but typically around that range. And I just think it would it's well served for a reason. It was a format that gave us great TV and great content for a reason. And again, it's just like make a solid choice. Like reminds me of like that moment in La La Land when Ryan Gosling is like complaining about the Samba Tapas place. Like pick one, do it right. Like choose whether it's going to be a movie or a series and commit. Yeah.
I didn't want to end this episode until I wanted to touch on this one small thing that people are already talking about, and that's the fact that like Kingpin never learned ASL.
Oh yeah.
What an asshole. Like if you're gonna say that, like, because he was with her for like he was around her for like 20 years. Like, you learn, bro. That's your niece.
Yeah,
like,
I doubted yes when she called him out for that though. When like I was happy that she at least called him out for it.
It's like you
I
got
think
some
that's the point, though. You know, like I think
context.
him not learning ASL is just continued proof that he doesn't want to love. I mean, he thinks he loves Maya. He wants to control Maya.
It's kind of the way that like Thanos loved quote unquote Gamora.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That really bugged me because in the movie universe, in the laws of the universe, the action fucking worked. So the universe agreed that Thanos loved Gamora, which is pretty fucked up to say.
Yeah.
Unless you take it from the angle of if he's
takes
not
whom it
capable of
comes.
actual love, the love that we feel, what is the closest way he would feel love for
Or
someone?
maybe if it was like in the point of view of the person doing it, like if he believed that he loved Gamora.
Right.
Even then, like, I don't know if the Soul Stone works on a technicality.
Yeah.
He technically loved Gamora.
Like I guess he believed enough that he like if like
His
if he
version
believed
that there was like
Yeah,
a weird cosmic jury that sits behind there and is like arguing like us, like
or it's just like, do you actually, or is this bad? Like
decide whether or not he loves her.
That makes it fucked up.
In Marvel, in the comics, I think there is like a cosmic jury of sorts.
A cosmic jury.
There's like order and chaos and whatnot. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Kingpin not learning ASL because it makes a point, right? Like literally everybody in her family knows ASL.
Yeah.
Because of the love they have for each other. But Kingpin's view on what love is really just means to an end.
It's very much like if you wanted to, you would, and like he doesn't want to.
Right.
Like he wanted to use her as a weapon, not like he didn't actually view her as like a surrogate daughter.
Yeah,
exactly. I made a whole TikTok about it.
I think he also kind of thought of her as like an owned and controlled legacy in a way. Like because I think that like any capacity he had to like really love it was buried with his family. And so this like horrible mutation of what he thinks love is now he's like trying to find someone to continue his legacy with, and Maya's almost more ideal for who he's become because he is so controlling. And so because that like that blood love, like that like biological love that he had for his daughter isn't a factor with Maya, he doesn't even see that like he doesn't truly love her, and that it's not just about like securing his dynasty like beyond him. Like yeah, the technology was really cool though. I just want to say that.
Yeah, that was cool. It is creepy though.
It's super creepy, but it as a tech geek, I was like, oh, that's I think how it was made.
You know what? You know what the like the glowing floating hands reminded me of?
Yeah, what?
I don't know if you've seen it on TikTok, but that one filter that's just like they use it on the birds.
Oh yes,
The one
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that's really funny.
Okay.
So there was one moment that like I really like wanted to, because he turns away from Maya and faces away from her, so like that means he had like backwards blue hands like coming out because he was talking like when he was taking away from her, and I was really disappointed that they didn't show that because I actually thought it would have been really fucked up in a good way that he's like facing away from her there, and it's supposed to be this thing that's like approximating him signing, but like it'd be like these backwards arms.
Uncanny Valley.
Yeah,
it sucks that he killed the interpreter.
Yeah.
Also, after how long? Because the idea that like she'll go off and tell somebody, I'm assuming.
I feel like she would have told someone if she was gonna,
in the meantime, like she was in the limo, right? That was the same interpreter, and then she was at dinner, and then I don't know. It just didn't seem smart to me. Even though he's a bad guy, it just didn't seem like it's like throwing away a resource. Why would you do that?
I mean, like this could have been solved if like, I don't know, the interpreter was walking home late at night and then, I don't know. Do you guys remember the reporter in Daredevil that we can't use anymore because he's dead?
Oh,
I think
Phil
it was
Urich?
Phil Urich.
Yeah.
Which is another reason, if the Netflix shows are canon, we don't get Phil Urich anymore, which really sucks.
Ben Urich. Ben Urich?
Ben Urich? I think
Phil is his
Urich.
nephew, I think. Yeah.
And so, I mean, like, he could be like, reporting for the Daily Bugle, can you talk about working with Kingpin? And even if she said no, one of Kingpin's goons could be like, she talked. And that's like takes 2 seconds, But hey, what are you gonna do?
It just seemed.
I remember I was really confused during that scene because they showed you like the kill zone, like almost if I'm remembering correctly, like before she walks out there, like as an audience member, it almost like with the way she was walking, because she seemed kind of grim, like and serious, which I guess you would be around Kingpin because he's Kingpin, but it felt almost like she knew she was walking to go be executed, and then like you hear that she's surprised. Like I actually wish that they had done like a oneer, like where you're following her and then seeing her reaction and she just gets, and then there's the thing. Like I just think that they could have filmed that in a way that was more shocking, because again, like
I mean, the red flag to her should have been, there's plastic.
Yeah, like
come on. Like,
yeah, I just felt like it was a little bit odd that she's just like, oh, that's just repainting today.
Not repainting. It's remodeling, guys. We're fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was like a Joker move.
Yeah.
You don't think it's smart for Kingpin to do it?
No, I mean, does he kill his henchmen too? Like those bodyguards that are always there?
I understand why he killed her, but yeah, I just like, I wish the moment had played out a little differently. It did feel almost like jokery. that's kind of valid.
Like killing valuable resources seems counterproductive.
And though, just like as a comic book fan, just because like I wish his power, like his strength, had like a better explanation than he's strong.
Fisk.
Yeah, like it just, because it just seems like they sort of like modulate him as needed, which like I don't know, like I just I'm not like that into Kingpin. I like him more when he's written like as like a mobster Lex Luthor, rather than like he's gonna go share blows with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
Right. And like in the comics, they're just like, yeah, he trained with sumo wrestlers and other martial artists. Like, all right.
Hmm.
But he can like yeet Spider-Man with a punch. Like it just
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that this Kingpin could take on Spider-Man?
That's what I'm kind
No.
of curious about,
I-
like, because like I don't know, like what, because like I've just seen Kingpin like I think every time I think they're not gonna do that with Kingpin as a character, they do. So
But like no offense to the Hawkeyes, they're not like super strong,
No.
And the thing that gets him is like a handful of explosive arrows. That would get me too, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Like I think it still fits in the realm of possibility. The thing that doesn't fit in the realm of possibility is when he rips the car door off.
yeah,
I was like, all right, come on,
yeah,
dude.
thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think there's a very real place in comic books for the villain that is just like human and is just so evil, but like the hero can't kill them because they're the hero, and
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
they take them down right. Like I think it's a trope that works, but
Yeah.
and just like randomly has like unnatural strength for no in a world where he could have a viable explanation for it, but he just doesn't.
Like not even like some kind of like in a world with like superheroes, like super soldier serum and like
Yeah.
mutations and stuff falling out of the sky, bro. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
sometimes he just decides to be the Hulk. Like okay,
Like a human being busting through a brick wall.
yeah,
I don't
how?
know.
Like even if you're like a big guy, like I feel like you're still squishy, like you
Right.
can't you can't just do that, Fisk. Like yeah.
Yeah, it's like one of my like favorite tropes. Like a really big guy can take like 6 bullets and the only explanation is because they're big. I'm like,
Yeah, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
Like you're still a human flesh. Like
Yeah.
you're not bulletproof.
yeah, like you like those are still in there.
Yeah, you still got organs, bro. Like you got blood. You can lose it. It's not
Yeah.
good.
As we close with this episode, one final thing I want to ask everybody is where do we hope to see Echo next? Where do we think we're gonna see Echo next? Which are
My
technically
big-
two different
I
Good question.
want a better explanation on the powers. I want to know what they are, what they do, all the what's about them, and then I want to see the relationships explored with more time.
Do you think that where do you think we're gonna see Echo though? In a season 2 in somebody else's show?
I hope that we see her in a season 2. But yeah, I don't know. Who knows with the MCU and like what they're doing. Like it's just I hope for a season 2 because I think there's something to be said about like putting there's a reason why there's standalone comics, you know what I mean? Like and there's crossover comics. Like there's a reason why you focus on certain people at certain points because you want to know more about them. And so where I would like to see more of her is in her show. Yeah.
Okay. Amanda?
Like again, like wishful thinking, I would hope for a season 2. I would hope for like again, like this whole trend of like it didn't work the first time, so tank it. Like I hope that like stops and we get to like actually see things progress and actually see things connect. I know Thunderbolts is coming out. I don't know if there's a possibility of seeing her in that. I don't know like if there's a possibility of seeing her in Daredevil Born Again. We don't know. I would like it to not just be a quick like here and then like that's it. I'd like her to stick around and I would hope that there's like a place for her,
Yeah. Justin?
I mean, most likely we're gonna see her in Daredevil Born Again. Most likely. What I think she should be in, I mean, like I said before, the Marvel Universe is in desperate need of a backbone, or not a backbone, but an overarching story or
Also a
through line.
backbone sometimes.
Yeah, a through line,
Yeah.
I mean, she's near New York.
Is
I
she?
mean, yeah,
she lived in New York. She went back
Yeah.
to
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
I
I don't know
mean,
if she's going back to New York.
She could go back to New York, interact with the rest of the Netflix Daredevil characters, Also Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, etc., etc. Maybe throw in Spider-Man for all I care,
Mhm.
Like, I mean, if please just if you're gonna call it Marvel Spotlight, I get it, but throw her a bone. Come on, give people like a reason to like invest in this character, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my thing.
I don't think we're gonna get a season 2. I'd like to think we would get a season 2. I don't. I think that Marvel again hasn't shown faith in the show, even from the get-go. More like they were obligated to release 5 episodes of something that they filmed. Me personally, I would like to see her return, but I don't like. I think there needs to be a clear-cut distinction because Thunderbolts is doing this thing where like most of the people in the Thunderbolts are like lower powered people, but like Thunderbolts isn't like a evil Avengers in a way. Like they're not that. They're just, a lot of them are just super soldiers and spies, which is kind of weird. But what I'm trying to say is that there needs to be a clear distinction between like Avengers team against Avengers level threats and perhaps a new Defenders team. Just do a new Defenders team. Call it something if you want, but like have Maya on that team. Let's have some street level problems, not some weird Sigourney Weaver. I don't even remember what she was in that miniseries. Like, what was the point of bringing them all together? I think it was like releasing a dragon. Was it releasing?
Yeah,
was it dragon
I think she was gonna release a dragon to gain immortality.
Wait, what?
Underneath New
I'm
York,
pretty sure.
right?
That might be wrong, but
wait, did I miss something? Wait,
the Defenders miniseries. That's what her goal was, right? That there was a dragon underneath New York or something.
Yeah, and there was Dragon Bones, and the final fight happened underground in the Dragon Bones and then the whole thing collapsed on like Elektra and Daredevil, and everyone thought Daredevil was dead. And then there was this weird shot of Iron Fist like, "I will protect this city," and then we never saw from him again. It was like a whole thing.
What? Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah. So they can do a Defenders. I think that's the big thing with Marvel right now to me is that like there shouldn't be one through line. Like there should be for the Avengers, and we need more like Avengers related stuff that can tie us together. But like, what about street level stuff? What about space level stuff? What about magic and gods?
So, like, on that, I said this like a few times to like, because I love Miles Morales, and like I think that it would be really cool to see a like well done, obviously, like series with him, like because he could be more of the neighborhood Spider-Man, than Spider-Man is now, because Spider-Man's now dealing with Avengers level
threats.
Yeah, exactly. And so Miles could be really like one of the first truly like neighborhood Spider-Man that we could see on screen, like outside of the video games, of course. And like, but like, you know, and also I think it's kind of time for Spider-Man to get another chance at TV, at episodics, because like there is obviously like the old Spider-Man like stuff, and if they were doing it back then, let's do it now. Like,
I thought that would be fun too, like a kind of, I feel like a fun one would be like as cheesy as it is, like a bad guy of the week.
Yeah, exactly.
It'd be so fun.
Miles, like that's just like that's a little secret hope for me too. So like I want to see that neighborhood level stuff, and and to that regard, like I don't know how much I like the spotlight thing for that reason, because I think part of the fun is like the possibility of seeing these characters that you love hang out.
Yeah, I mean, if Miles ever comes around, he needs to hang out with Kamala.
Facts, yes, absolutely.
You know, like
the neighbors.
That.
Yeah, Miss Marvel was my favorite like Disney Plus thing to come out in like a long time. It's just she's so cute. She gives me mad cute aggression. Like
it's so like I
she's
love
so
also like
she's very endearing.
when like the kids are just like kids, you know?
Yeah.
So I want to crush them with like hugs and like
I'm like, oh, I am your auntie now.
I want to thank all of you so much for coming on the show, talking about Echo. You know, we were breaking it down, and you know, giving our ideas. Thank you guys so much for coming on here. Thank you to people out there for watching and or listening. Shout out to Mr. Plow. Shout out to C1. Shout out to Aries 13. They were really chatting it up in the chat with things that we didn't even get to all of their chats and everything. But thank you guys so much for being supportive out there. Before we get going though, Paige, where can we find you? What do you got coming up? Anything you want to plug?
So you can find me at Paige Blackcloud pretty much everywhere. I don't really like do Twitter. I've tried to do Threads, but I don't know, confuses me. I don't like just thinking things and writing them, I guess. I'm much more of a video format kind of person. But yeah, so Instagram and TikTok is where I'm at. And only thing I'd really like to plug is that if you are an aspiring actor or voice actor, you should check out Skills Hub. It's a site ran by Jennifer Hale, who's a prolific voice actor, and it's probably the only place I would point new actors who want to get started to go, because you get a supportive community, and like the biggest thing that they have to offer is that you can search through their coaching database and get coached by casting directors and organically develop relationships with people who actually can get you where you want to go in the community. And I want to see more faces, new faces, fresh faces out there. So I want to plug the hell out of that. Skills Hub. It's at acting.skillshub.life. And yeah, it's incredible. I love it. I'm probably going to do some sort of like a gift card like thing at some point in the future to sponsor somebody to join. So yeah, just follow me on socials and keep an eye out for that. But yeah.
Very nice, very nice. I put the URL in the chat for anyone who is interested. Amanda, where can we find you? What do you got coming up? Anything you want?
Awesome. So yeah, I'm on TikTok, Instagram, the app formerly known as Twitter, Threads, and YouTube. So I'm Amanda just vibing on everywhere except for YouTube. On that, I am Amanda Castrillo. And yeah, pretty cool events, pretty cool opportunities, and just general vibing.
General vibing.
Yep.
Thanks, Amanda.
No
Justin,
problem.
same questions, different answers.
Yeah, you can find me wherever toys are sold at Freddy's Roommate on Twitter, TikTok, and on Instagram. Right now I'm doing a whole series where I play Baldur's Gate for the first time. And I hope people are enjoying it. Yeah.
I DM you about that because like I deleted that game. I rage quit and
Really? You rage quit?
What?
I got so mad.
No, it's so good. You have
In
to
which
keep playing
act?
it.
Why did you rage quit?
Like in the beginning.
It's hard. Listen, it's hard in the beginning, but when you get the hang of it, it's really, really
I'm
fun.
a hardcore like RPer, and like I do play like RPGs and stuff, and like tabletop RPGs, and it's a video game and you touch things, and I didn't know that you shouldn't touch something that's red, and I got arrested.
I did the same thing.
And I was just sitting there waiting for the chance to talk to somebody about legally getting out of jail.
Legally.
And then only to find out that you just have to break out. And so I'm like, canonically, I'm just a ruffian now. I am outside the law. I can't do this.
It's real.
No, it's great. Like, listen, I walked into a fire literally within my first 5 minutes. I didn't know.
For fun?
No, I didn't know. I didn't know you weren't supposed to walk into. I thought, because you know, like how some things in video games are just environmental for decoration.
Yeah.
I thought it would block me off. No, my character did in fact catch on fire, and they lost some HP points. And I died in really stupid ways the first couple of times I played, but now I'm on my third playthrough, and I'm having a great time. Okay. So please give it another chance, Paige. I'm asking you to give it another chance.
Was there more to Baldur's Gate, Justin, that you wanted to mention, or?
I don't about Baldur's Gate. I mean, I'm doing a whole series where I'm playing it for the first time. Don't go to the comments and say I'm spoiled. I mean, it's the whole series. I don't know what to tell you, but yeah. Paige, let's talk about it.
Yeah, no. And if y'all are fans of Baldur's Gate, I have a lot of Baldur's Gate content as well as an interview with Neil Newbet on my page. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Once again, thank you to everybody out there for watching. If you're watching us live, you're watching us on twitch.tv/The Keeg Show or youtube.com/The Keeg Show. or you're listening to the podcast wherever you get your podcast from: Apple Podcasts, Google Play, SoundCloud, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. If you are on social media, at The Keeg Show on TikTok and Instagram. We're also on Threads and Twitter and Facebook and stuff. At The Keeg Show / The Keeg Show. TikTok and Instagram are our two biggest ones, as well as the new under construction site, thekeegshow.com, where we post articles and stuff. If anyone's interested in reading geek-related articles. We're picking up pace on that one. Definitely more articles to come. Other than that, that's pretty much it. This is the Keeg Talks. We talk about a different topic every single episode. This is Echo. Next week, we're going to be talking about Monarch Legacy of Monsters. And that's an Apple TV Plus show that just ended. I think they're 10 episodes. But we got a lot of cool stuff coming out. Comic Talk is every Thursdays where we talk about comic books. So find us on TikTok and Instagram and keep up with the schedule that we have. That's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Once again, I am your host, Dimithri Perera, and this has been the Keeg Talks Echo. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Super fast, gotta beat the boss and get the loot, 'cause it's the king.